You know that person who doesn't just feel emotions, they live them. The kind of person who watches a sad movie and sits quietly afterward, still thinking about it. The person who hears a beautiful song and suddenly feels something deep in their chest. The friend who notices when someone else in the room is hurting even before a single word is spoken. Maybe you know someone like that. Or maybe that person is you. And if it is, you've probably heard the same comments many times in your life. You're too sensitive. You take things too seriously. You need thicker skin. Sometimes people say it casually, sometimes they say it with concern. But either way, it can make you feel like something about you is wrong, like your emotional world is somehow too much. But here's something psychology has slowly started to understand. Feeling deeply is not a flaw. It's a different way of experiencing the world. A mind that processes emotions with more depth, more awareness, and more intensity than most people realize. Think about how most people experience emotions. For many people, emotions come and go like passing weather. A moment of frustration, a brief feeling of joy, a small wave of sadness, and then it moves on. But for people who feel everything intensely, emotions don't just pass by. They stay longer. They sink deeper, they echo. A kind message from someone they love might stay with them for days. A small criticism might replay in their mind long after everyone else has forgotten it. A moment of connection might feel almost magical, because when you feel deeply, emotions don't just touch the surface of your life, they move through it. Psychologists often talk about something called emotional sensitivity. Some people's brains are naturally wired to detect emotional signals more strongly. It's almost like having a more powerful emotional antenna. They notice tone, they notice mood shifts, they notice the tension between two people standing across the room. They notice the friend who smiles but looks tired. They notice the person who says, "I'm fine," but doesn't really seem fine. While others may overlook these things, highly sensitive people detect them instantly, almost automatically. And once you start noticing emotions like that, it becomes very difficult to ignore them. Imagine walking into a crowded room. Most people notice the obvious things, the conversation, the music playing, the food on the table, but someone who feels deeply notices something else entirely. They notice the emotional atmosphere, the subtle distance between two friends who were once close, the nervous energy of someone who feels out of place, the quiet sadness behind someone's laughter. It's like reading an invisible emotional language, a language that most people don't even realize exists. Because of this, people who feel deeply are often incredibly empathetic. They don't just understand someone else's feelings, they feel them. If a friend is heartbroken, they feel the weight of that sadness too. If someone is excited about something wonderful in their life, they share that joy just as strongly. Empathy becomes second nature, almost instinctive. But empathy also comes with a quiet cost, because when you feel everything deeply, the world can sometimes feel very heavy. You're not just carrying your own emotions, you're carrying pieces of everyone else's too. This is why emotionally intense people often need more quiet moments, more time to process, more time alone. Not because they dislike people, but because their emotional system needs space to breathe. Imagine a microphone turned up to maximum sensitivity. It picks up every sound in the room, even the smallest ones. That's what an emotionally sensitive brain can feel like. It notices everything, the beauty, the tension, the joy, the pain, everything. But there is another side to this emotional depth that many people overlook. The same sensitivity that allows sadness to feel overwhelming also allows beauty to feel extraordinary. A sunset doesn't just look nice, it feels meaningful. A song doesn't just sound good, it feels personal. A moment of connection with someone you love doesn't just make you happy, it fills you with warmth. Emotionally intense people often experience the world with remarkable richness. Colors feel brighter, moments feel more meaningful, connections feel deeper. Their emotional range is simply wider. And yet, growing up with this sensitivity can be confusing. Many people who feel deeply spend years believing something about them needs to change. They try to hide their emotions, to appear less affected, less vulnerable, less sensitive. They learn to smile even when they feel overwhelmed. They learn to stay quiet about what they feel because they worry that others might think they are too much. But emotional depth isn't something that can be turned off. It's part of how someone's mind is built. There's also another interesting trait many emotionally intense people share. They reflect deeply, not just about what happens in their lives, but about why it happens. They ask questions like, why did that moment affect me so strongly? What does this emotion mean? What can I learn from it? That kind of reflection creates something powerful, self-awareness. And self-awareness is one of the most valuable psychological traits a person can develop. Many artists, writers, musicians, and psychologists share this same emotional intensity because deep emotions often lead to deep thinking, and deep thinking often leads to insight. But emotional intensity also comes with challenges. Sometimes emotions arrive so strongly that they feel overwhelming. A small disappointment can feel enormous. A moment of rejection can feel deeply personal. A stressful situation can feel like too much to handle. This happens because the brain's emotional system is very active. Every signal gets amplified. And when that happens repeatedly, emotional exhaustion can follow. That's why people who feel everything deeply often need strong emotional boundaries, not walls, but boundaries. The ability to care deeply about others without absorbing every emotion around them. The ability to listen with empathy without carrying every burden home. Learning this balance takes time, but it changes everything. Because once emotionally sensitive people learn how to protect their energy, their emotional depth becomes one of their greatest strengths. They become incredible listeners. They become thoughtful friends. They become people who make others feel understood. And feeling understood is one of the most powerful human experiences there is. Sometimes the most healing thing in the world is simply having someone look at you and say, "I understand." People who feel deeply often become the ones who offer that understanding, because they know what it feels like to need it. Of course, there will still be difficult days. Days when emotions feel overwhelming. Days when sensitivity feels like a burden instead of a gift. But there will also be moments that others might miss completely. Moments of connection. Moments of beauty. Moments of compassion. Moments when someone opens up to you because they sense your empathy. Moments when your emotional awareness helps someone feel less alone. Those moments are powerful, and they happen because of your sensitivity, not despite it. So if you're someone who feels everything intensely, if emotions sometimes stay with you longer than they seem to stay with others, there is nothing wrong with you. Your mind simply experiences the emotional world with greater depth. You notice more, you care more, you feel more. And while that can sometimes feel overwhelming, it also means you experience life with remarkable richness. You connect with people deeply. You recognize beauty quickly. You understand pain compassionately. Your emotional world is simply more vivid. The goal isn't to become less sensitive. The goal is to learn how to care for that sensitivity, to protect your emotional energy, to give yourself time to process, to allow emotions without letting them control your entire world. Because emotional depth, when balanced with awareness, becomes a powerful strength. Now I'm curious about you. When something emotional happens in your life, does it pass quickly? Or does it stay with you for a while? Do you experience emotions lightly or deeply? Because the psychology behind emotional intensity reveals something fascinating about how human minds work. And in the next video, we're going to explore something closely connected to this topic, the psychology of people who care deeply about everyone except themselves. And once you understand it, you might start seeing your own emotions in a completely new way. If this made sense, you're different, so like, share and subscribe.